What is up, guys? Private Eye Rush here. Welcome to another episode of the Private Eye Rush Show. I am your host, owner, operator, full-service private investigation and consulting firm, company, contact page, website, Discord server. Everything will be linked in the description below. You can DM me send me a message on the Discord server or send me a direct message on X. Discord server is probably better if you have a direct request for a video reaction or investigative report. All right. So, and all that will be linked in the description below. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. This is this covers a subject that I hate this subject exists, but it does. And some of you may or may not know I do volunteer some of my time as a licensed investigator to track down missing and exploited children to try to reunite them with their families. And so it's always a very difficult thing to do, but let's go ahead and go over this report and react to it.
New tonight, a man says two women kidnapped him at gunpoint and forced him into sex work.
Court records backing up the victim's story, and he's sharing it only on 13. ABC 13's Luke Jones is live at the Harris County Jail detailing those 6 days of terror, Luke.
Yeah, and what a terror it was. So far, the only charges are aggravated kidnapping, but this man says in reality, he was really the victim of sex trafficking. Masterminded, he says, by a woman who called herself Cookie, operating out of a North Harris County motel.
It was really ghetto. It was scary.
A young man who still shudders when he thinks about all he endured. For almost a week, he says he was held captive in a room at the Regency Inn on Cypress Station near FM 1960. Forced, he says, to have sex for money. We're blurring his face to protect his privacy.
It was a lot of crackheads, a lot of them, a lot of sketchy homeless people.
A life, he says, he never imagined for himself. One the Harris County Sheriff's Office says he was sucked into October 18th. That's when they say one of the victim's friends, Esmeralda Pena, invited him to the Regency.
She said that she had a job for me, she was gonna help me make.
She looks guilty. Shout out to her, though. She might not be, but still, allegedly.
Some money, because I didn't have a job.
Once here, he says he was introduced to this woman, Herbanique Forrest. Although when they met, he says she went...
Why'd they have to put the close-up? My gosh. However old she is, the years have not been kind. Now, does this sort of thing happen? Unfortunately, it does happen to young men, young women, older men, older women. There are predatory individuals out there that will, force you into this sort of life. So let's keep going.
Went by a different name.
Her name was Cookie.
Cookie, he says, quickly said about signing him up for an escort site and told him he'd have to have sex with men for money. The next day, he says he saw an opportunity to escape and returned home. But just 4 hours later, deputies say a doorbell camera shows Pena and Forrest at the victim's front door, this time with an armed man. Investigators say they and Nixon Simmons forced him...
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Into a car at gunpoint.
Cookie started beating me, and she was like, don't I ever leave again. If I ever leave, she'll blow my brains out.
For the next 6 days, he says he was beaten, plied with drugs, and deprived of food. At night, he says he was expected to solicit men in this Ross parking lot, although he says he only ever slept with one.
I knew that if I made them money, they would keep making me work for them. They would keep me around. So I just tried not to sleep with anybody.
Even so, he says the experience left him drained, and at one point, hoping Forrest would make good on an earlier threat.
A couple of days in, I kind of wanted her to kill me. I told her to kill me, just get it over with.
In the end, he says it was his aunt who saved him. October 24th, he says he was able to text her using a phone he'd hidden from his captors, and that she picked him up during one of those nights out in the Ross parking lot.
I was just yeah, this is not a good place to be at.
And the victim says he wasn't the only one forced to do this. One of the suspects, Esmeralda Pena, also beaten and made to walk the streets, he says. Right now, this case still under...
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and react to this. Man, oh, man. Shout out to the victim. Hopefully he recovers. Here's the thing, guys. When I talk about raising your children to be strong, men or women, you have to raise your children to be strong. He sounded like a very timid young man. And here's the thing about predatory people, whether it's someone trying to get you involved in or trying to force you into sex work, or whether it's someone who has romantic designs on you. predatory people will sniff out weak people. Weak men in particular are easier to sniff out than weak men and women. Why? Because it's written all over your face. You've got to raise your children, your sons and your daughters, to be strong enough to resist this sort of mental coercion and people forcing them to do things. All right, so how do you do that? Well, you do that by not, by not forcing them to be something they're not. That's the first step. Okay, so when I raised my son, I didn't try to turn him into a carbon copy of me. What I did was I assessed his personality and I tried to help him accentuate and amplify the good traits and reduce the effect of the bad traits. So I didn't try to turn him into something else. I didn't try to force him into my opinions. And we went over different things about different, especially peer pressure, that sort of thing. And I worked on creating a young man that had a strong mind. Now he's still growing. He's 19 years old. He'll get stronger as he goes on if he keeps that into practice. If he doesn't, maybe he won't. That's up to him. I've given him the tools he needs, but this young man seemed really, really well. Obviously, he's very, very fragile mentally and emotionally. And they picked up on that right away, and they tried to put him to work. Now, thankfully for the aunt, she got him out of there. I would hazard a guess, and again, I don't know the young man, don't know anything about his story. I would hazard, I would probably guess that he probably did not have a father there to guide him as he grew up. And so, when I talk to people about the human trafficking thing. I don't like the term human trafficking. It sounds too legitimate. Let's call them what they are. They're slave traders. They're pimps. They're disgusting. They're evil. Human trafficking sounds almost like a corporate position. I'm the VP of human trafficking. I don't like that term. They should call them what they are. When I was a kid, the people that were the human traffickers that would go after children, we called them chicken hawks. So individuals like this are always going to be on the lookout for weak people. Weak men, weak women. They're going to try to turn you or coerce you or even seduce you into a lifestyle that you may or may not like going forward into the future. So there's nothing wrong with saying no. And there's nothing wrong with confronting people when they need to be confronted. Obviously, pick your battles. But, I learned a very, very long time ago that confronting things early and with forcefully, usually kept those things from resurfacing. If you let things go, they only get worse. All right, so this young dude, he got forced into doing something awful. He is one of the lucky ones, believe it or not. I've gone on these hunts for missing and exploited children before. Are young men ensnared by human traffickers? Yes, they are. It's not just young women. It's about 70-30. And so if it happens once, it's too much. Just in my opinion, it happens once, it's too much, but it's still an ongoing problem. So when you're raising your children, you've got to raise them strong. Don't raise them so that they're compliant, all right? So if they're compliant with you in the house, all right, they have to follow your rules. They have to be respectful, obviously, but you don't want to breed that compliance into their brain. So many people out there nowadays, we see it nowadays, the cult of personality with the rise of the influencer. Some of them are incredibly irresponsible with some of the stuff they say. I'm not going to put any names out there or go into any details, but some of them are very, very irresponsible. People are led into acts of violence and other illegal activity just because they were influenced by someone that they look up to and idolize, and they're willing to do anything to please these people. And so you don't want your children to be that way. You want them to think critically. You want them to be able to stand up for themselves, and you want them to be able to say no when they need to say no. Anyway, it's your boy, Private Eye Russ. Shout out to the victim. Hopefully he recovers. I will talk to you guys in the next one. I'm out. Oh, hey, before I go, please, if you found some value in this reaction, in this news, please hit like, subscribe, share, and get in the comment section. If you have a specific request, it's probably best to do it over the Discord server, sending me a DM on X. Sometimes they get buried because I get a lot of DMs on X. So Discord server might be the best way if you guys want to see something reacted to, investigative report, or a case file. Let me know what you guys want to see. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.